They have this hyper maniac kind of like intensity about them that they don't take it for granted. They don't take survival for granted. So every day, it's not a negative thing. It's just an edge that keeps you evolving faster than your competitors.
Why do growing businesses go broke? Welcome to the Profit Answer Man podcast. I'm Rocky Lalvani, and I help 7 and 8 figure business owners scale profits and cash flow while working less. Every week, we dig into proven methods like the Profit First system, other cash flow strategies, and real execution. No accounting jargon, no fluff. If you're going to be the backbone of America, creating jobs and serving your mission, you deserve to be well rewarded. We're Profit First certified professionals. If you want the masterclass, check out episodes 2 through 13, including Mike Michalowicz, where I break down the entire Profit First book, chapter by chapter. If you want, grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint book at profitcomesfirst.com and start making profit a habit today. You built this business to serve your mission and your freedom. Let's make sure it pays you back. We also offer strategic tax planning and preparation to help you keep more of that profit. Now let's dive in. We've made some updates to our website. The profit calculator is right there. You can use it to test out your business. And I've updated the book. If you haven't gotten a copy of it, you can also find that on the website as well. ProfitComesFirst.com. If you've ever closed out a great month on paper and still felt tight walking into the next one, this episode's for you. Because a good month doesn't always mean a healthy one. And by the time your accounting system tells you what happened, the decision window that mattered has already closed. Your bookkeeper and CPA record the past. Nobody reads your story the numbers are telling before prescribing a fix. That's the step I refuse to skip. Here's what's actually happening in most businesses doing 7 and 8 figures. Roughly half of what you sell, half your clients, and half your product mix is quietly unprofitable. And most owners can't tell which half. That's the big gap. Today, we're going to break down why the numbers you check are always too late, how top operators build a hiring system instead of reacting to open positions, and why adding AI to your business with an unclear bottleneck just breaks it faster. My guest today is Jay Bourgana. He is an operator and advisor who has built, run, and exited multiple businesses and now works with companies doing to 10 to 150 million a year. Let's meet Jay and see how it's done. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Jay Bourgana. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you share a little bit about yourself and your businesses?
Yeah, I'm a business geek. I spent all my life studying businesses, following businesses. I started out my career in banking, then I went to manufacturing, spent a few years in China, came back to the US, did a few years in turnarounds in multiple different industries, large companies, and then built multiple businesses in real estate, data integration, as well as home services. I've exited a large business in 2018 in the real estate space, retired, went to Hawaii, drank the Mai Tais on the beach, and then it got bored out of my mind 2 years into it. And then decided that I want to get back because I just missed the learning and missed the transformation that I was having on my people and the clients and everybody. And I wanted to come back and be engaged again. So I participate in different sides of the business. I'm an owner myself, and I have a roll up in the data integration space, and then I also help on the advisory side. Either on the M&A side or operational consulting with companies anywhere between 10 to 150 million.
And we're going to touch on a lot of those.
Yeah.
But you said something to me before we hit record. You said profit is a lagging indicator.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, the profit is the natural outcome of all the good decisions you make at the top. So what industry, what type of client, what type of clients you go after, what kind of structure, what kind of payment structures you have with your clients, what type of team you build, what type of culture you build, what type of processes and operational excellence you have. So all these things, end up funneling down into a healthy gross margin, healthy net margin, healthy working capital. Or so to me, profit is an end outcome to all the decisions that happen at the top.
And so we look at it slightly different. And it's probably not like, it's not really different. I think it's just a mindset. We decide that profit is the beginning indicator in the sense that if you didn't design your business to be profitable,
Yes.
you're not going to get the lagging indicator. You have to have the business model that says, hey, this will actually make money.
Yes, 100%. And you were absolutely correct. You begin with the end in mind.
Correct.
But you're not watching, in order for you to make a decision today, you're not looking at profit from last month to make a decision today. You're looking at your sales data, you're looking at your operational data, that's what you're looking, those are the KPIs you're looking at today, so you can understand what your profit is going to be or going to be down the line, because things happen in the world. Is constantly changing. We're constantly being challenged. So to me, that's kind of like how I think about it. But I absolutely agree with you. You begin with the end in mind, and you design backward.
No, and that makes sense. And it wasn't to say that. It was just like, you have to begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
What's the biggest problem or issues that you see in most businesses?
Working capital needs, being, not having enough capital to run their business. And a lot of times, culture, talent retention, and not understanding what your ideal talent profile look like, and not having a process to acquire that talent and retain it.
It's funny because most small businesses have a marketing program for how to sell
Yes.
their clients, but they don't have one for how to sell or how to acquire their workers and
100%.
to build out that system to be able to do that from a talent acquisition standpoint. But you also said something important. You said you have to know who that ideal person is, correct?
Correct. 100%.
What did you mean by that?
Not everybody's going to be successful within your organization, and not everybody's going to deliver the performance that you're seeking, within your organization. So most companies, they act in a passive way, where they have a position, they design the description, they put it out there, they get X number of talent, X number of people, they interview, they filter through some kind of filter, they pick a few people, they interview, we say, okay, we looked at 5, we pick 1. And then, so it's always like reactive. It's not designed, with the end in mind, like we talked about. And so for me, if you're in a certain industry and there's a certain level of talent within a certain position within your company, you should know by now the top, the percentile that are successful, that deliver within your organization. So obviously, I'm assuming that you have the measurements, you have the data, that you have KPIs that at each role, what people are delivering. So you have to have the data, and then you have to understand who are the top performers, and then you have to create a profile. What's common, among that profile, and then you create a DNA, if you will, for that ideal talent profile for that position. And then you go back in the reverse, just like a scout from a sport team. They know how many inches the arms have to be, and the fingers, and this and that, and the dads and the mom, and and they make their best guess on what that profile is going to look like to increase the probability of success within their organization. And then you go out and you create a funnel to attract that talent, to convert them, to get them to join you. And then eventually, when you find out that they are the right person, then you have to have a program to make sure to retain them. And most organizations don't have that.
No, they don't. How far in advance do you start scouting of when you need somebody?
How far in advance? You're always scouting. You're always you're always recruiting. Always be closing, always be recruiting.
I don't think most businesses are proactive with that.
Correct.
They wait till the opportunity comes and then they're like, I can't find anyone.
Yes.
And I think I've heard it said a few times now, good people aren't looking for jobs. They already have one for the most part. And if you're not scouting, somebody else is and is going to get them before you do.
Exactly. And we all know that when you see like real talent, it's just, you can tell. When you see it, you can tell the difference. The gap between the top talent and the median is just so big. And so you're constantly looking for those outliers. You're constantly trying to produce those outliers. And that's upstream of profit.
Is money the motivating driver for most of those people?
None. Money is never the driver. So there's a really good book called Drive by Daniel Pink. A great study that essentially there are three drivers. There's mastery, which is the desire to learn, grow, and evolve. It's a DNA thing. We just need to evolve. We need to develop. There's autonomy, the desire to have your own freedom to do what you do best. And then there's purpose and a higher goal. You need to think that what you do matters above what just you. So most companies do not, sometimes they may have the growth piece where they're teaching the people and so forth, but a lot of times it's not continuous and it's not planned. Most companies understand the autonomy concept. Sometimes they give too much autonomy too early. They don't know the timing, the sequencing of autonomy. And so the autonomy has a sequencing to it. And then most companies do not articulate their purpose. And I'm not talking about putting a mission statement on the wall. I'm talking about, on the daily, what is the reason to exist for this business in the world? How does this business make the world a better place? And continuously connecting the dots for the employee to the little girl in the playground or to the little boy in this and showcasing how what they do affects real people in the real world and how does it make the world a better place.
No, I like that. You talked about there's a sequence to autonomy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it depends on the role, but right now you hear about AI and you hear about training. You hear the concept of training and you hear, so when you build a model, you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of compute upfront in training. So the GPUs are the data centers that do only training are very high compute GPUs. And then once you do the training, then after that you do the inference, which is asking for the information. So those require less energy and less chips. So same thing with people. When you bring people in, there's a lot of like training up front. They have to understand the role, they have to understand the culture, they have to understand how we do things. Even though if they have experience somewhere else and so forth, you still need to bring into how we do things, who are our customers, and so forth. At that moment, there's a little bit less autonomy because we need to give you data, we need to train you, and also we need some accountability to make sure that the training has been absorbed and then that you understand how we do things, and we have to watch what you do and so forth. So there's a little bit less autonomy, and the goal is that autonomy is earned over time, and then to a point where you have full autonomy, and that's our goal. My goal is to give you full autonomy so you can run your own, your self-learning, you're developing, you're so forth. We created an environment for you to have autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And so to me, there's a sequence into that. Most companies have that sequencing off.
They do. I find they hire them, they give them autonomy and say, go figure out how to learn here. And I assume you know what you're doing because we hired you.
That's what we hired you. Yeah, that's what we're paying you.
Go do it.
And then when there's a problem, then they come and they want to take away some of that autonomy to watch them to do it. And so that's where it creates mistrust. It creates this nonsense. So there's sequencing to autonomy, but yes.
I always say trust but verify.
100%. Yes.
So you talked a little bit about data and you have a data integration company, I think this is one of the biggest things I find with practically every company is the data's in disparate systems. Nobody knows how to bring it together and no one knows how to tie it together. So, for example, a lot of what we do comes out of the accounting system, but the accounting system is very much a lagging indicator. As a matter of fact, I was on a call with a client this morning. I'm like, this is your first indicator. Like, this is where the truth lives, not for this moment, for the next 60 to 90 days. You tell me what that's saying 60 to 90 days out, and I'll tell you what the profit's going to be, 180 days by the time we get the results.
Yeah.
And then, so that was their leading indicator. Then the second indicator is kind of the current time indicator. And then the third indicator was the lagging, which was the data coming out of the accounting system that said everything we built actually did work and we did get the cash.
Right.
But they're all three different systems.
Yep.
And if you don't build, I say you have to build dashboards. You might have to pull data from three. Maybe you can figure out how to integrate them. I think a lot of times, though, when they pick software, they don't think about what do I need it to do and how do I need it to serve me? Instead of they become a slave to whatever software they end up with. And a lot of times when you buy the all-in-one packages, I know the accounting is usually never good.
Yep.
And so it's just a matter of what data lives where and how do we pull it together. How have you been able to tackle that?
Yeah. There's always pain. You know what I mean? So the way I think of it is kind of like someone has a bullet somewhere. They know they're bleeding and they're blind at the same time. So for me, or they're in the dark. For me, the first thing I want to do is turn on the lights and find out where am I injured, where am I bleeding, and how am I bleeding? What's going on? Why am I bleeding? So there's pain. There's pain maybe our we're spending a lot of money on marketing, but we're not profitable on these clients. We're spending money on goods, on products, but we don't understand our inventory mix, and we don't know which product category is profitable and which one is not. We don't know. You can go into we know our numbers in aggregate. We know our numbers in averages, but we don't really know our numbers. So if you ask me what my churn rate on this type of clients, or my churn rate on this category of products, or what my acquisition cost on this, or what's my lifetime value on that, I have no idea.
When you look at companies and you pull the data out, what % of what they do is unprofitable?
A lot.
What's a lot? 30, 40, 50, 60?
It's probably 50%.
So half of what they do is unprofitable.
Yes. And so they don't know which half.
They don't know which half. But the average company could do half the work.
Yes.
And make the same, if not more money.
Yeah. If they could see it, if they could figure it out. Yes. And all they need is visibility.
Turning on the lights and figuring it out is probably the smartest thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it gives you visibility on, so it's interesting. It sits in the middle. The data visibility sits in the middle, and it gives you the ability to change, because, most people have workflows. Most companies have processes, the way we do things. They have these workflows. They may be written or not written. They may be designed with intentionality or without any intention, just as an evolution over a period of time. So, but without data, you're not going to know the results of your workflows, and you have no idea what's going on inside of those workflows. So, and then without the data, you cannot provide accountability. So you need KPIs to be able to hold the people, the products, the workflows accountable. That's what management is. So the data is at the center of it all, for you to be able to make any decision. So it's a decision fuel, if you will. And so for us, number one, you have all these systems that are like in their own silos, where different people are in charge of them, different departments in charge of them. No one knows what's inside those systems except the people in that thing. And a lot of times there's turnover. So when someone is taking over a legacy system and it's a mess, and they just blame it on the last person, and it's just, no one wants to go through the hard work of cleaning it up. So you have a system, we have multiple systems that have dirty data that don't talk to each other. And then whenever we want to be able to have any type of visibility, we ask somebody to pull spreadsheets from different systems and do a pivot table and give us a report. And that's how we manage. That's how the average company manages. Or, God forbid, they just use the existing system report, and then they essentially evolve their process to just work with what they got. And then, so what we do essentially, we understand the pain. We know the pain, there are multiple pains, but we pick on the pain and we get them to give us, 90 days to show what clean data looks like. And so we'll clean the systems, we'll integrate them into a large data lake, and then we'll give them what their true KPIs are. And then that's where the work starts. That's not where we end, but that's where it starts.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of what we do for our clients, is help them see the first leading indicators along with the mid indicators, and then finally the lagging indicators, which are the accounting results. And then how does that all compare against what we said we were going to do? Because everyone needs a scoreboard. And I'm amazed at how many people play the game of business and don't know the score. And then you wonder why there's no money in the bank, because you didn't bother to pay attention to it. Why are so many business owners resistant to this?
It's adaptation. So, when you're starting the business, it's survival. So you adapt to that dynamic of survival. And then at some point, you find yourself growing and a little bit profitable. And then you feel confidence. And then you have this belief that what your workflows are working because you've survived, you lived. A lot of people are not here. A lot of people died. You're here. You're still here. And then you have that survival bias, if you will. And then now you've developed this organization that's, profitable, decent. It's profitable, but it's had evolved organically the way it is, and it's working. It's kind of like one of those, kind of gets, what if it's working, why mess with it? And then so you have this kind of confidence, arrogance, whatever it is that entrepreneurs tend to get, and it becomes very hard for them to change. To say, okay, well, we need to rebuild. It becomes very hard for them to go from being a pirate to become a Navy. It becomes very hard for them to go back and revisit the foundation of the business. It's too painful. I just made it over here. Dude, it was so painful over there. You're trying to take me over there. I don't want to go back over there. I like it here. So that's usually what happened. It becomes very hard to change.
And this is why I always like going to begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Because if you build the systems out and you think about the end game, or, I think most business owners at a certain point know where they want to go. So someone might say, hey, my goal is to scale, bring in multiple locations, or my goal is, hey, I'm just going to serve this niche and this is my upper limit.
Yeah.
Because this is what I can handle within the business myself. And that's fine. When you know that, then you can build those systems, those data, and everything else for that.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot easier than it sounds if you know what you're doing.
100%. And but there's also a caveat there when you said those two scenarios where someone picked a niche and said, okay, this is where I want to be, or the other person that says I'm going to scale to this size. That essentially assumes that the world stays the same. And the world never stays the same. So sometimes you have to, you picked your niche and that was a perfect niche 10 years ago. But right now, that niche is shrinking, or you have bigger competitors, or, whatever. The economics, the unit economics have changed, and you have to adapt. So you have to build, the reason why you have to build systems is these systems create resilience in your business, where in time, if you decide to pivot out of that concentration that you created for yourself with that niche, or out of that a decision you create for yourself to build 100 units, those systems will give you the flexibility to pivot, and it will give you indicators to know when to pivot or to know when to change the decision.
I have found that change for a lot of business owners comes fast and hard.
Yeah.
It's like a sucker punch that
Yes.
you just didn't like. I think the freight train was coming, but they thought it was the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know.
Well, yes, correct. Because again, the lights are off. The lights are off. So if someone comes at you and hits you with the back of your head, there's nowhere for you to see it. The lights are off. You're not seeing anything. So that's why it's important to see the data as early as you can. So you develop the pattern recognition. And then, so when you see these spikes in certain things, you can say, hey, let me double click on that. Let me call around and find if the other guys in my space are having the same thing. Let me call my suppliers and find out what's going on. And I can pivot before I get hit, in the head or get hit by a freight train.
And those are where the power of good questions comes in. Because for a lot of our clients, that's what, I'll hear them say, well, our salespeople are telling us this.
Yes.
And I'm like, and they're having a tough time, but the guy across the street, he's really good. So he's getting all the business. I'm like,
Yes.
Oh, so it's not the economy.
Yes.
If the guy across the street's getting business, what are your sales reps not doing? Or what's going on in the way you're presenting yourself, the marketing, the niche, whatever it could be.
Yes.
And so I think that is important to be able to do that. And I think for many businesses, that front end of sales and marketing is a struggle for them, to not so much that but until they get that systematized and operationalized, and then always keeping tabs, because we got hit with COVID, we got hit with tariffs, we get hit with, different things in the economy and interest rates. All of those things affect every business in a different way. Some thrive, some don't. But you've got to be able to at least notice the changes coming. And if you're too busy in the business, you don't see what's going on around you.
100%. And you have to have adaptability. You have to have resilience in the system. So you're constantly, watching what's going on. You understand, and you're in the know of the patterns, and so you can have time to pivot. No, we were talking about earlier. Go ahead.
No, you keep
mentioned
talking
sales,
about no, you keep talking about patterns, and you keep
Yes.
saying that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you have a skill to notice patterns.
Yes.
Do you find most people have that skill?
I think a skill can be developed, but not everybody. Correct, but not everybody has it. Correct.
Okay.
I think it could definitely be developed, but I think they use it in different places. They have it, but they're just not using it to the full extent of, you know what I mean? So all good entrepreneurs have good pattern recognition. They're just using it in a very narrow field.
All right. I just wanted, because that came up multiple times. And so I just wanted to at least point that out. Go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just going to mention, like earlier, you were talking about salespeople and you were saying like, our salespeople tell us something. And that's nuts for me. That's a data point that tells me that you have no idea what your business is like. And then you should be telling your salespeople what's going on, not the other way around. And, sales is one of the pure sports that we were talking about, scouting and talking about recruiting, identifying the ideal salesperson within your organization. That's a role that it's a revenue generating role. It's a profitable role. You should always have, it's an ongoing recruiting process for that role. And we all know that the top salespeople produce, 80% of the outcome, the results. The gap between the top salesperson and the lower is just so large that you're constantly out there looking for those salespeople, nurturing them, developing them. And if you are on, upstream of the information, and you're upstream of like you're constantly recruiting the talent, you are in the know of what's going on in your industry. You're not going to, it's not going, the information is not coming from salespeople. It's coming from you upstream. That's a signal. That's to me, that's a data point that tells me that organization. And so that's an element that is upstream of profitability, because if you have a good sales team and you have so much demand on your services, you can set the price, you can set the term, you can set everything. You can pick and choose the quality of the clients you want, which is downstream of your working capital needs, which is upstream of your working capital needs and upstream of your gross margin and net margin and all the above. So yeah, and it's fascinating to me that a lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time with that, with sales and marketing.
Some are masterful at it.
Yeah.
And others aren't. Everyone's got their skill set.
Yes.
But what I find is those that are masterful at sales and marketing are not so good at the rest of the business. What I mean by that is they don't know how to operationalize delivery.
Yes.
And they don't worry about cash flow because in the back of their head, it's just, well, we'll sell more.
Yeah.
And yes, but if half of what you sell is unprofitable, then you're wasting a lot of effort.
But a lot of that profile tend to be also a good salesperson, but a terrible sales manager.
Oh,
and then they create concentration risk for themselves. So we're talking about like begin with the end in mind. So if we're building a business to sell, if you will, built to sell in a way, then you're trying to eliminate risk within your business, and you try to eliminate concentration everywhere in your business. Concentration in the product category, in the client type, in the clients, in the salespeople, whatever. So when you're the main salesperson, the best salesperson within the organization, where you're the rainmaker, that business doesn't have very much value, and so in the marketplace. And so to me, there's a profile there that makes like a really pure salespeople not very good sales managers, and then creates like all the issues that you were talking about.
All different skills, and you just have to be aware of that.
Yes.
Since you're doing a lot with data, I'm assuming you're doing a lot with AI.
Yes.
So what are you seeing? Like the world of AI has moved fast. Some people are using it. What I find is most people are using it for very basic stuff.
Yeah.
They are not using it at an advanced level. They're not using it as a thought partner.
Yeah.
And they're not using it to streamline operations.
Correct. So there are three types of people that are using AI right now. You have the first group that just tinkers with ChatGPT and Claude and writes an email or throws a report in there and asks it for advice. That's one group. There's the group that says, I'm going to burn some brain cells for a weekend, and I'm going to, get in there and learn how to build a couple agents and a couple workflow automations and so forth. And then there's the group that says, you know what, the ship has sailed. I'm just going to, I'm not going to learn new tricks, and I'm going to ride this thing until the music stops. And, it's a big group in that group. And then we have a big group on this side. This side that's just tinkering is almost the same as this group that just gave up. They just said, I'm not doing anything, because they feel good about tinkering, but they're really not going deep enough to get any value out of the tool. Now, the way I explain it to entrepreneurs, I explain that when you think of an AI as a technology, think of it as productivity. Think of it as I bring you 100 very talented young people that are ready to work for you for free 24/7. How do you feel about that? How do you feel that me bringing you 100 people, like tomorrow, people that are ready to work for you for free 24/7? You're going to say, oh, that's great. I'll take them. But then the next thing you're going to say, oh my God, I need to so I need to get a process together. I need to, get them trained. I need to, give them access to data. I need to create accountability. I need supervision. I need so I don't have any any assets. Okay, where are the SOPs? They're nowhere to be found. Where are the workflows? Where's the data? Is a mess. So you can't really there. I can give you productivity. You can't do anything with it. And so that's what's happening with AI right now. So you have these bottlenecks everywhere. If your readers have read the book, The Goal, you know that there are systems in every business, and every system has multiple locations. Yeah, yeah, with gold right. And then the speed of the whole system is the speed of the slowest part. And so if you bring automation, and I was doing manufacturing in early 2000s, and I saw when in a lot of companies were literally removing automation from their factory because it was slowing them down. And the reason it was slowing them down, they could not and figure out how to have multiple types of systems work to human systems and machine systems to work together to produce the speed and the productivity they wanted. And so I remember visibly walking to Pilgrim Farms, which is a large chicken facility, where they're literally removing machines and bringing in Haitian immigrants to cut the chicken. And then I couldn't understand. They spent millions of dollars on that equipment. And so this is what's happening right now with AI, because you're bringing something that's going to speed up one process, and it's going to create massive bottleneck in the next process. And all companies have bottlenecks everywhere. And the biggest bottleneck is usually, it's in the data side, or it's in the accountability, or in the management side, or in the business owner himself.
That there is. And it's understanding what your bottleneck is and then having the courage to go open it up and fix it.
Yes.
And remove it. And that's massive. And what I say for AI is going to massively speed up whatever you have.
Yes.
So if you have chaos, you will have more chaos. And if you have good systems and processes, they will work faster.
Yes.
And so the people who already built the systems and processes are going to take leaps ahead.
Yes.
And the people who are going to take chaos into AI are going to fall apart faster.
So everybody's going to be challenged. So let's make that clear. Everybody's going to be challenged. When you add velocity to the system, all systems start shaking. Now, some people have like workflows written up. They have good culture. They have good people. They have resilience. They have adaptability within their culture, and those people will evolve, from this in a way faster than a lot of other people that are just not. They don't have those capabilities. They haven't developed. Those are going to be. It's an evolution. You're either gonna adapt, or you're going to be gone. And those who adapt are going to move on and they're going to succeed. And those who don't, they're going to be in history.
Business comes and goes. How have you noticed that most business owners are at allocating capital?
From what perspective?
We've got money to spend. Well, they all think they have money to spend, right?
Yeah.
So how are they taking the money they have and deciding where it should go and how it should go? Do they know what they're doing? Do they guessing? Do they take the time to go, you know what? I'm going to allocate capital here because I'm expecting this return.
Yeah. Majority of companies don't. Majority of companies are throwing money at problems and hoping that more resources are going to solve the problem. And, I hear all the time. I go to a company. Like I remember vividly this conversation. I was at a $6 billion company. I went to sit with when there was a meeting with a bunch of VPs. One of them was on the board showing me like the workflow. And then he says, we don't have enough budget for this. We don't have enough people for this. We don't have any, so I kept saying, okay, you're asking for resources, but I still don't understand what the problem is. I still don't, we still haven't clarified what is the problem, what is the true root cause of the problem. So he hasn't gone deep enough to understand root cause. And then immediately the quick answer was, we need more money, more people, more resources, more technology. And then it's all money. at the end. People with technology are money as well. So most people, when they scale, most companies, when they scale, and they give away responsibility to other people, other VPs and other executives, those people don't want to get their hands dirty and get down and, bring a shovel and start digging for roots. They don't. They just wear the paper over it, put some newspaper, some cash on top of it, and there's nothing to see here.
The person that I have seen who is the best at that is Elon Musk.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
He is so frugal,
yes,
and so challenging.
Yes.
Why do we have to do it this way?
Yes.
Take ownership, show me. And he doesn't listen to people who say no.
Yes.
He just says, well, let's find out if we can break it. And he says, if I'm not breaking at least 10 to 20% of my decisions, I didn't go far enough.
Yes.
And that's an amazing amount of courage to do that. But he's also like, look, I made a mistake. Now let's fix it. It's
Correct.
not, he doesn't hold on to it emotionally.
So one thing which is he calls bottlenecks, he calls them limiting factors, and you'll start hearing him say the limiting factor and this is this, and so he'll go to the limiting factor and he will go himself. That's the thing. He said, my job as the CEO is just to go find the limiting factor and solve it, and then bring the resource, whatever you need to do to solve it. And the other thing that I remember one of his CEOs, I think it was the SpaceX CEO, talked about that he constrained them on budget. So he only gives them like 3 months worth of runway, even though the capital exists. They just raised capital. he's like, no, figure it out. So when you constrain the cash, you bring creativity, you bring resourcefulness, you bring, so you take away resources, you bring resourcefulness. And that's the stuff that having worked in China, having been in other places around the world where they don't have enough resources, and have seen like what they can do with so little, is so inspiring. It stayed with me as we go to companies. I see it everywhere.
It's funny. The book Profit First is right behind me. Everyone thinks that book is about bank accounts and moving money. It's not. It's truly about constraining resources.
Yeah.
And it's forcing you to figure out how to do more with less. Whether it's less time or less money. And when you constrain the situation, it is amazing how much gets done at the last minute.
So that constraint, what the constraint does, it creates a forcing mechanism to make long-term decisions as opposed to short-term decisions. Because when you have the cash and you have a pain, you almost have this like urgency to remove the pain. And, the quickest way, the easiest way to remove the pain is to throw resources at it. Throw another body, throw some cash, throw another piece of software at it. That should solve it. And so essentially these are all, and I tell my kids, these are 1 marshmallow, 2 marshmallow decisions. So are you taking the easy path or the right path? And we do that. Like we do that in our businesses all the time. And then it gets worse when you have multiple layers of management. And then, the pain tolerance is way less as you move away from the founder. And usually founders have gone through the pain and they've lived it. But then you notice it a lot. When the founder has removed himself from the business or stopped paying attention, stopped getting involved in the details, you start noticing things decaying slowly and things getting loose and things getting less profitable and the margin gets eaten up. And those are all 1 marshmallow, 2 marshmallow decisions.
They are 1% at a time. And that's why you have to notice trends and patterns.
Yes.
Because you will see those little patterns over time.
Yes.
Make massive shifts.
And listen, remember, like, I don't know if you ever like walking the factory, one of the ways you manage manufacturing, I don't know if you ever read Sam Walton's book, he'll take his plane and he'll fly over the store and he'll count how many cars in the parking lot. That's pattern recognition.
Sam will go into his competitor's store
Yeah.
and measure how wide their aisle is. He spent more time in his competitor's stores
Yes.
than he did in his own. And he spent it on
Yes.
the ground. Like
Yes.
literally, what
Yes.
do they know that I don't?
Yes. And it was a requirement by his people to go spend 2 hours a day at a competitor's stores. And I mean, we sell products to Walmart and Target, and I remember that. And I mean, they were very cultural. That's part of their culture. They work on Saturday morning. They're at the famous sales meeting on Saturday morning. It's part of their culture. And Sam, has put in so much time to inculcate the next generation of leaders that were able to maintain that culture beyond him. So it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, but a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners don't want to invest in that long-term thing. So yeah.
Then they don't get the long-term cash in their pocket.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Sam's
exactly.
wealthy.
Yes.
Elon's wealthy. There's
Yes.
a reason. They're
Yes.
frugal and they're willing to put the time and the effort into figuring out the little stuff.
Yes. And they have this hyper maniac kind of like intensity about them that they don't take it for granted. They don't take survival for granted. So every day, it's not a negative thing. It's just an edge that keeps you evolving faster than your competitors. So you're constantly you're finding your own weakness everywhere and you're trying to solve for it. You're constantly improving, the 1%, improvement every day in every place. And so to me, that's healthy because it keeps the whole, more resilient, much stronger, much healthier. And you can find these things everywhere around the organization. I mean, I remember, like for me, I would go around the factory every day, like just walk. Every time I walk, I see something. It tells me a lot about the culture. It tells me a lot about our productivity. If I see people, if like when I walk right now, if I go to a factory and I walk in like around 5 and no one is there, that means people have left maybe 20 minutes ago and no one is there. There's not even a mechanic fixing things. There's not even a cleaning person cleaning things. That tells me that this is a clock in, clock out operation. There's a lot of culture work that needs to happen here, for us to get to a place. I need the place to be dynamic. I need to feel the energy. I need to feel the pride. I need to feel like, when I walk into a location, and it can be done, I mean, it doesn't take a lot, I mean, like I've done it in 90 days in organizations with like, thousands of people. It could be done. It's hard. It's not easy. It's hard, but it can be done. It's just, yeah, it's very interesting. This is kind of like the element of pattern recognition that a lot of times business owners give up for convenience or for comfort or for trying to be passive or try to be a lifestyle business. Yeah, I mean, lifestyle businesses decay, very very quickly.
No, I get it. If people would like to learn more about you and your services, how do they find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm very easy to find. My name is very unique, Jay Bourgana, on all the social on LinkedIn, or my website is acquisitioncollectives.biz. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you need anything.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you know which part of your products, clients, or business is losing money right now? Which of your deals aren't breaking even? That's exactly what we help our clients figure out. The right margin, the right concentration, scorecards that actually tell you what's going on, and action steps of what you need to do to move forward this month. It's amazing what you find when you know how to read the tea leaves. You want help? Reach out. Check out Jay's stuff as well. Tired of scaling and growing beyond your cash? Ready to end the cash flow roller coaster and build real wealth inside and outside your business? We should talk. I serve 7 and 8 figure mission driven business owners increase their profit and cash flow while working less. We help you build the businesses that run without you so you work less and make more. Book your discovery call today. There's a link in the show notes. You'll work directly with me as your Chief Profitability Officer. If you're a six-figure business owner, check out the Profit Blueprint program at profitcomesfirst.com. It's your guided path to mastering your numbers with my assistance at an affordable investment for your revenue. Check out my other podcast, Richer Soul. It covers leading yourself and building the ultimate life and business. There's also a link in the show notes. Thanks for listening to the podcast, where revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have a profitable week.